record this. The other announcement to make is on Wednesday, we do not have class. So do not come to class on Wednesday. We don't have school actually. So this coming Wednesday is Thursday is Thanksgiving. So Wednesday, we do not have school. So that's the first announcement. Second announcement is the last day to withdraw from the class. So Wednesday, the 24th, no class. So don't come to school or no Zoom. This Thanksgiving. And then Monday, the 29th, this is the last day to withdraw from this class. So what is this means is if you're not doing well in this class, if you're scared that it will affect your GPA, then this Monday, the 29th is the last day to withdraw. So you get a W in the transcript instead of an F or a D or something else, which will affect your GPA. But be careful when you withdraw from the class, because if you're on financial aid, you might be in probation or something else. So please talk to me first, and then after that, talk to your advisor. What is the consequences you get if you withdraw, especially students with financial aid? I'm still grading your tests. I don't know. Usually the chapter 7.4 and 7.5, the identity part is usually the horrible part, the proving identity and the solving equations. So I will see what happens at the chapter 8 material, which is the applications of trig. So we'll see. I haven't finished the whole thing. So so make sure you guys, I probably will be finished grading your tests probably on Wednesday. So please do check your grade, before around Thanksgiving time. You should get your finalized grade. And then if your grade is not good enough, or is still not, if you scared it will affect your GPA, please withdraw it from by Monday. Okay, I will announce that again for today on Monday class. So anyone have any questions for me? There is no homework on this Wednesday. So your next homework is the following Wednesday, which is the 1st of December. So you will have the 4.3 and 4.4 online homework is due. Okay, so no homework this week, but next week will be this homework, 4.3 and 4.4. So we're gonna talk about conic section now. So what is conic section? A conic section is where you get, it's an intersection between a plane and a two nap cone. Okay, so when you have this conic section, you will form 4 types of conic sections or conic formations. One is called a circle, ellipse, parabola, and a hyperbola. So you can have one of this. So to look at your textbook, because your textbook is nice. So this is what we call a double nap cone, means two cones that is like, like hourglass, top and bottom like that. So so if you have a plane means if you take a piece of paper and cut through this double nap cone, you can get yourself a circle. A circle means you know what a circle is, right? And then you can, if you move this plane you slanted or tilted a little bit off up to a certain degree, you get yourself an ellipse. Okay, this is what we call as an ellipse. And if you tilt it all the way out from one of the cone, you get yourself a parabola. And if you put this plane exactly horizontal, like slash right on horizontal, you get yourself a hyperbola. So these are the 4 conic sections that we will learn in this section. There are also degenerated conics that we did not learn in this class. You can get a point, means your plane is right into where the 2 cones meet at the point here. It can be a line, means this plane is right between the sides of the cone, or it can be a 2 intersection line, means the plane is cut right in the middle, horizontally in the cone, you get the X. So the 2 intersection lines. So we don't study these 3 what we call as degenerated conics. So we only study these 4 basic conics part. Okay. So the first type of conic section we learn is circle. So circle is, you need 2 important things in circle. One is you need to know the center of the circle is HK. and the radius is r, and the equations of the circle in this case is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals to r squared. So this is the equation of a circle. So again, class, same thing happens in your finals. You are allowed to bring 1 page of note, front page, like your task 2. So this is something that I would recommend you to write down. Is your conic section here. So the first type is circle. So circle is very straightforward type. You only need 2 things, the center and the radius, and the formula is given us by this. The next one we have is a parabola. Now, parabola is what you guys learned in your algebra class, but this is the correct definitions of parabola. A parabola is where it's a set of all the points x, y in the plane that are equal distance to what we call as a directrix, and a fixed point focus. Okay, so what is going on here is, I'll show you to you what is a parabola. So a parabola in this case is, so we have a parabola and we have a line called the directrix line, and we have a focus. The focus point is always inside this parabola, and if you do a distance from the focus to any points in your parabola, and the distance from the point to your directrix that form 90 degrees, this distance are the same. Okay, same. So no matter where you draw the line, as long as if you found they are the same, the distance between the focus with the point and the point with the directrix is the same, then you guys got yourself a parabola. To be more details, the focus to the vertex and the vertex to the directrix is also going to be the same. Okay, so the distance from a focus to the vertex and the vertex to the directrix is also going to be the same. We call this distance P. Okay, so this is in the here. So the vertex is the midpoint of this focus point and the directrix, and we call the distance P here. Okay, so the distance between the focus to the vertex is P, or the vertex the focus to the directrix, which is the same thing as the distance from the focus between the vertex and directrix. So it's called P in this case. So just want to point out to you guys. So that means that if you draw me a parabola, your focus is always inside and the directrix is always outside. And the distance from here, focus point to your vertex, is called P. This is important. And the vertex to the directrix is also called P. This is focus. And this is your vertex. And then this is your directrix. Okay. What happens if you have your parabola is going the other way? Okay. So if you have the other way, then this is no longer P. This is a negative P. Okay. So if your parabola is open upwards, is P, and your parabola open sidewards, going downwards, is negative P. This kind of parabola is given us by the equations of x squared equals to 4py. Okay, so x squared equals to 4py. That means that you will have a vertical axis. So your axis is vertical. So let me show it to you in the picture form. So so when you have equations in x squared equals to 4py, your directrix is y equals to p. Okay, so that means that this directrix is y equals to p. Okay, y equals to negative p. I was thinking about that. That should be a negative p. So y equals to negative p. So that means that your directrix is on the going horizontal. Okay, so we call this as your standard form as a vertical axis. So this is called a vertical axis. Now your parabola can also go sideways. If you go sideways, we call it the horizontal axis. And now your parabola will go sideways. So you can open sideways this way, or you can open sideways that way. Okay, so this is given us by y squared equals to x squared equals to 4py. This is x squared equals to 4py. Okay, no matter. So what is the difference between which one is going up and down? Depends on the p. If your p is positive, it goes upward. If your p is negative, it goes downward. For the horizontal axis, now your directrix is no longer at y equals to. It's going to be x equals to. I think it's also negative p. Yep, I think it's negative p. Yep, x equals to negative p. So this kind of parabola is you just switch your x and y around. So this equation will be y squared equals to 4px. Okay, and again, this is your directrix. This is your directrix. This is your vertex. This is your focus inside here. So your p in this case will be positive because it's on top. And your p in this case will be negative. So what I want to point out to you guys in this going sideways is how do you figure out, is this a going up, down, the vertical or horizontal? You look at your directrix. If your directrix is given us by y equals to something, then we know it is going up, down. Otherwise, if it's x equals to something, then it's going sideways. Okay, so a lot of students got this mixed up, and I'm just want to point out to you guys, make sure you guys look at the directrix and figure out. Don't look at the vertex, don't look at the focus, because the vertex and focus is a coordinates. They won't tell you where is it at. So I would recommend you to look at the directrix, will tell you. Okay, so that will be something that I will point out to you guys. So a lot another stuff is, although another kind of like a hint is in the test, although the question didn't ask for us to draw the picture, I will recommend you to draw the picture. Okay, so it will help you with this. Okay, so x squared equals to 4py. This is for vertical axis. Your directrix is y equals to negative p. The y is very important. If your directrix is x equals to p, then this equation will be y squared equals to 4px. We call this as a horizontal axis. Okay. So let's take a look at some example about this parabola. Question number 1 is given us by find the focus and the directrix of a parabola y squared equals to 3x, and then sketch the parabola. So first thing first is you have to look at this equation, y squared equals to 3x. Can you tell me, is this parabola vertical going to be a vertical axis, or is this going to be a horizontal axis?
Would it be vertical?
Why you say it's vertical?
Because it's like y equals something.
No, it's y squared equals to 3x.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at vertical, what it says?
Oh, x squared.
Yes.
Okay.
And horizontal,
It's y squared.
y squared. So if a question did not provide us the directrix, then another way for us to figure out is looking at the equation, which variable got squared. X squared will be vertical. So this is actually is what? A horizontal axis in this case, okay, because it's y squared. Now we will compare this equation with the y squared equals to 4px, because we need to find p. Once you find p, we can find your vertex and your focus point, because the question did ask us to find what is the focus and directrix. Sorry, they need to find what is the focus point and the directrix in this case. So what we do is we just take a look at this and you compare your p. So 4p in this case is equals to 3. So p in this case is 3/4. So you solve for p. So this is usually how we do it if a question provides us the equation. So this p is positive. So what can you tell me when p is positive? Is this open to the left or is this open to the right?
To the right.
So this is open to the right. So again, when p is positive, it's open to the right. If p is negative, it opens to the left. So how do you find your focus point? Your focus point, because if you look carefully, your vertex, let's draw the picture first, then we. So your vertex is at 0, 0. Okay, and p is 3, and you open to the right. So that means it's somewhere here. Oh, sorry. It's going to be touched because this is your vertex. So you'll be touching on your vertex. It's open to the right. And your focus point is somewhere here. And your directrix is over here. Okay, so your directrix is always a line. A focus point is always a point. And we know the distance from the vertex to your focus point is p, 3/4. So can someone tell me what is the coordinates of this focus point?
Is it 3/4, comma 0?
Yep, because and what is the directrix line is?
It's negative 3/4, 0.
Okay, no, direction is line, so you do not need to give me.
Which negative 3/4, okay.
Now this correct, but you will get wrong in your test or in your online homework because it's a line. So your answer in this case has to be x equals to. So don't forget, your directrix always have x equals to negative p. So your directrix is x equals to negative p. Since our p is 3/4, it's a negative 3/4. Okay. So so your formula for directrix is x equals to negative for this case, and your focus point in this case will be p0. Okay, so but for this case, if it's a vertical axis, then your focus point in this case will be 0p, because it is on your y-axis now. So your p in this case will be on the y. So this is how you figure out your focus point in this case. Okay. So as long as you know p, you should know how to graph this. You should know how to find your focus point, and you should know how to find your directrix. Okay. Yes, this is it. You do not have any more sine, cosine, tangent in this last chapter here. Okay. So in this last few chapters, chapter 4 and chapter 11, you will not see any sine, cosine, and tangent and all those things coming up. No longer. Okay, you won't see that. So this is 4.3. I will look at for another example here. So this is your graph. The next example that we have in this case is now they want you to find the standard form of the equation. So standard form of equations means this one. This is called a standard form of equation. This one or that one. Okay, that is called a standard form of equations. Given us that is a parabola with the vertex at the origin that passes through the point -2, 6 and has a horizontal axis. So again, this question will tell you that this is a parabola that has a horizontal axis. So horizontal axis means it is open up, down, or sideways. Which one? Horizontal axis.
Sideways.
Okay, it's open sideways, and we do not know is that open to the left or open to the right until we know what is the P. So as you know that when you open sideways, your equation will be y squared equals to 4px. Okay, so this is the equation. So if you know P, you just plug P in there, and that is our answer here. So they give us a point -2, 6. Can you tell me where is -2, 6?
It's in
What
the
do you mean,
second quadrant.
Yep. So -2, 6 is in the second quadrant. So can you tell me, is this parabola open to the left or open to the right?
The left.
To the left. Because your point is on the left side, so we know this is your parabola. And you know that once it's open to the left, we know that the P here should be what? It's going to be
Negative.
negative. So we need to look for the P here. So given us the point -2, 6, so what you do is you just plug this into your equation and solve for P. So x is -2, y is 6, so 6 squared is 36. 4 times p times -2. Yes, you will find out your p here is going to be negative because it's open to the left. So 36 divided by -8 is p, because 4 times negative is negative. Reduce this, don't forget to reduce. What is 36 and 8? Reduced by 4, so it's 9/2. 9 over -2. So what you do here is you just plug this p back into this equation and you get yourself your answer. So your answer in this case will be what? Y squared equals to 4 times -9/2x. Now in the text, in your finals, if you do not have time, just leave your answer like this. This is your answer. But if you have time, just multiply the 4 in there. Anyone know what you get?
Y equals negative, yeah, 18.
Yep. So don't forget the y squared. So this is your answer here. Okay. So again, parabola, the important thing is make sure you know your P, because once you know your P, and also you also need to know, is this open horizontal or is that open vertical? And then the formulas, use the correct formulas. Okay. This is question number 2. Question number 3 is talking about a light bulb. So this is a flashlight. The light bulb in the flashlight is at the focus of the parabola reflector, 1.5 centimeter from the vertex of the reflector. So this, yes, if you do this, you will come to with the picture. So, so this is the flashlight. And the flashlight has a light bulb. This is a light bulb. And it has what we call as a parabola reflector. Okay. That means all the lights that this will shine out. This is how the light. So that's one of the applications of parabola. is we call this as your parabolic reflector. So and this is your vertex, which is at 0, 0, and the distance from the light bulb to the parabolic reflector is 1.5 centimeter. Okay, so the question here is asking us to write the equation of this parabola reflector that you want to write. What is this equation is? So can someone tell me, is this a horizontal axis or a vertical axis?
Horizontal.
And what is the formula for horizontal?
Y squared equals 4px.
Yep. And we need to know P. So does anyone know what is P in this case?
Is it 1.5 centimeters?
Yep, 1.5 centimeters. So because this is your focus, so P is always the distance from the focus to your vertex or the vertex to your directrix. We don't talk about directrix here. So we know P in this case is 1.5. You just plot 1.5 in here. And what's your answer? Y squared equals to what? What's 4 times 1.5?
6.
6. Yeah, and that's your answer. So it's pretty easy, right? Okay. Yes, things are get easier here, but still you guys need to practice. This is what your homework looks like. Okay, so so this is called the parabola. So make sure you guys know, are they going horizontal or are they going vertical? Formulas are very important. If you use the wrong formulas, you get everything wrong. For parabola, make sure you know P. There are few ways for us to know P. One, if the question gives us the P, use it. Another way is the question gives us a coordinates. A coordinate, you just plug it in to solve for P. And the third way is they just give you an equation. So you can solve, you can find the P using this number 3 in this case. Okay. So so there are 3 ways for us to find P here. So make sure you guys know what is the P stands for. Okay. Questions for me?
So for like number 1, how would you find the P?
For number 1, in order for you to find P, you just y squared equals to 3x, you just compare it to y squared equals to 4px. So you're comparing between these 2 equations. And we found out that 4p in this case is 3. And then you solve for p. So if a question gives you an equation, you just compare it with which one is it. You guys all right? So what kind of applications we use parabola? We talked about the flashlight just now. So flashlight does use a parabola to reflect, your lights. A satellite dish. So if you look at a satellite dish that you have, you will have a little thing go up like this, right? In the satellite dish. That is where the focus point at. The reason why is because everything will be concentrated on this focus point. So satellite speaker. So any type of speaker will have a parabola application because all your sound will be bounced back into this focus point. Contact lens. So any lenses, doesn't care it's contact or normal glasses lenses, will be also using parabola for this. The wire in the bridge. You see all the bridge has a wire to connect the bridges, like the San Francisco Bay, the Golden Gate Bridge. All the bridges have wire, so that's why we use parabola. So so there's a lot of applications on parabolas. So the Golden Gate Bridge is one of them that use the parabola to do that. So you will see. So there are quite a lot of application problems that are using parabola. So that's why I want you guys to know that Because if you are an engineer and if you are creating something like this, these are the basic stuff that you need to know. Mhm. Anyone have any questions for me with parabola? All right, so that is a second. So first is a circle. So I'm not going to go through a lot of the circles because you guys are familiar with circles. The next second one is parabola. You're kind of familiar with parabola. Now we do the third one, which is an ellipse. Okay, so what is an ellipse? So ellipse is a set of points that in a plane that if you sum the distance between two distant fixed points, we call the foci, it is the constant. Okay, so what is an ellipse? An ellipse is where you got two focus points, and if you found a point in this ellipse, and if you add D1 and D2, it's gonna be the same if you pick any points around this ellipse. So if you pick this point, you got the D1 and D2. If you add these two D1 and D2, it's the same sum of this. So let's say this is D1, D2 add up to be 10. So when you add this another point D1 and D2, it's going to be also 10. And if you add D1 and D2, in that case, it's also 10. So when you add all the distance around the ellipse, it's going to be the same. Okay, constant means the same. So you will get yourself an ellipse. Okay, so we got two types of ellipse. One is called the major axis is horizontal, and one is called the major axis is a vertical. Now, major axis is where all your lines, all your points is in one line, in the horizontal line, if it's a major axis. So major axis consists of three things: your vertex, your foci, and your vertex. So if you look at, this is a focus, this is your center, and this is your vertex. So if your focus, foci, center, and your vertices all line up in the same horizontal line, then we call it as your major axis is horizontal. And yes, you can flip it around, then your ellipse in this case will be the major axis on the vertical line. Then your vertices, your center, and your foci all line on the vertical line. Okay, and the minor axis is the other one. So if this is the major, then the minor is going the other direction. Okay, so major is horizontal, then the minor is vertical, and vice versa. Okay, and also I want you guys to notice about the coordinates. Look carefully with this coordinates class, very important. If you look at this, the A here symbolized as the distance from the 0 to your vertex. So from 0, 0 to your vertex is your A. Okay. If you look at the foci C, this is the focus point. The distance between your focus and your center is C. And the distance from the center to your minor axis here is called B. Okay, so make sure you know the difference, what is A stands for, what is B stands for, and what is C stands for. Because the formula, if you have a major axis is horizontal, the formula is x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals to 1. And if your major axis is a vertical, is x squared over b squared plus y squared over a squared equals to 1. So this is all in your notes here. So to have an ellipse with the center at origin, so the major and the minor axis is given us by 2a and 2b. So I'm just draw this up for you guys so you guys can see it. So this is an ellipse. This is your center. This is the vertex, and this is your vertex. And the distance from here to here is a. So when you go from the whole thing, this is 2a. Okay, and the distance from the center to the minor axis, this is b. This distance is b. And if you want to go for the whole thing, this is 2b. So that's why your major axis is 2A and your minor axis is 2B. And the foci is always on the same line as your vertex and the center. This is your foci, and this is C. So the distance between two focus is 2C. Okay, so because there are 2 C's, and your center here is what we call as your midpoint. So don't forget, your center is the midpoint of the foci, and also is the midpoint of your vertices. Okay, midpoint means that they are equal distance. Okay, so that means from here to here is the same distance from here to there, and same thing with the focus point. Okay, so if you have, this is what we call as a major axis on the horizontal, because everything is on the horizontal. Then the equation in this case is x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals to 1. And if you have the one that goes sideways like this is the major axis will be on the vertical axis. The difference between these two formula is your a and b switch around. So you will get x squared over b squared plus y squared over a squared equals to 1. And also very important, a has to be greater than 0, b has to be greater than 0. That means they are distance. So you cannot have a negative a, you cannot have negative b. And this is more important, a has to be greater than b. Okay, this is very important. So that means that because we know that your major is longer than your minor, so that means your a has to be greater than b. So if you found out b is greater than a, something is wrong. Okay, and what happens if a and b is the same length? Okay, so if a and b is exactly the same length, you get yourself a circle. Okay, so make sure you guys know that your a and b here is the one that plays an important role. A is for the major one, b is for the minor one. Okay, but how you find c, the distance from the center to the focus? In order for you to find c, you use your Pythagorean theorem. But instead of a squared plus b squared, is a squared minus b squared. So this is how you find the distance from the center to your focus point, c, is using a squared minus b squared. Okay, which is also given us here. So c squared equals to a squared minus b squared. This is how you find your the focus point. And if it's a major axis is horizontal, we use this formula. And if it's major axis vertical, we use that formula. So a lot of formulas here. That's the reason why that I want you guys to use your formula to figure out this. This is very important. And yes, this is something that you will get in my test here. Anyone have any questions for me?
So from the vertex to the center, that would be 2a.
From the center to the vertex is just a.
Okay, and then from the vertex to the other vertex, it would be 2a.
Yes. So the vertex. So from the vertex to a vertex is 2a. But
okay,
from the center to the vertex is just a.
okay,
Center to foci is c, but focus to focus is 2c. And same thing from the center to the minor axis, this is just b. But if you want to go from one minor to another minor, like b to b, then this is 2b. Got it?
yeah. Thank you.
And that means your center is your midpoint. That means that it is in the middle of everything.
And then is the center always on the origin?
For this section, yes. For this 4.3 section, your center will be at the origin 0, 0. Yes. And then in 4.4, your center is going to be in a different coordinates. So today we just only learned 4.3 here. And if I have time, I definitely will do 4.4. So again, in the examples, they will tell you what kind of conic section. Like last time here, they will tell this is what? Parabola, right? They will say this is a parabola, this is a parabola, but they don't tell you horizontal vertex, right? You have to figure it yourself. Same thing happens in the ellipse. They will give you the ellipse, but they won't tell you that, is this a horizontal or a vertical one, okay? So you have to figure it yourself, okay? So look at question 4a. So this, they want you to find the standard form of the equation. So what is the standard form of equation? This is the standard form of the equation, this one. This one. So don't forget, this is called the equation. Okay, the standard form of equation. So if a question is asking for equation, this is what I'm asking for. Okay. Given us that the center is at 0, 0 origin. So as I mentioned early on, this 4.3 section, your center is going to be at 0, 0. Okay. Given us that your vertices in this case is 0 plus minus 8. And your foci in this case is 0 plus minus 4. Now, one thing I want to point out to you guys is please draw this picture out, because if you draw it out, you can figure out if you have a horizontal as a major axis or the major axis on the vertical. So can someone tell me where is 0, 8 and 0, negative 8? Where's 0, 8 and negative 8 at? 0, 8 is at where? Right here. And 0, negative 8 is right here. Can you tell me what is the distance between your center and your vertex?
Would it be 8?
So what is the variable we use for that? Is that A, B, or C?
Is it B?
B is from 0 to the minor. This is not the minor, this is a vertex.
C.
C is from 0 to the, so write this down, class. This is very important. A is the distance from where? From the center to where?
The vertex.
The vertex. B is the distance from the, I'm going to use detail sign, from the center to the minor. Minor means the shorter one. And C is the distance from the center to the focus point. So can someone tell me what is this 8 stands for? A, B, or C? I will give you this. What is this stands for? Look at the V going on.
It's the vertex BA.
That's your 8. Now, can you tell me where is 0? This is a focus point, right? A foci. 0 plus minus 4. So this is your foci. And this is your foci. One is at 0, 4, and one is 0, negative 4. Can you tell me what is the distance from the center to the focus point?
4.
And what is this is A, B, or C?
Would it be C?
This will be C. Yep. So now you find out that your vertices, your foci, and your center all line up in what? Vertical or horizontal axis?
Vertical.
So that means your major axis in this case is what? Vertical axis. That means your parabola goes, your ellipse goes what? Goes something like that. This one. What's the formula we use? X squared over B squared plus Y squared over A squared equals to 1. Do we know A? We know A. A is what?
A squared.
A in this case is
8 squared.
8 squared. What's 8 squared is?
64.
64. So we know this. Do we know B here?
No.
No, because if we know B, then we can put it in here, right? So how do we find B? We use this formula. We use this one. Do we know C?
16.
64 squared, 16. A squared is 864, right? 8 times 8, 64 minus B squared. So go ahead, plug into this formula, solve for B, or B squared. What is B squared in this case? Don't forget, it has to be positive, cannot be negative. 64 minus 16, right? Which is what?
48.
48. So now, do we know B squared is 48? So we just put it in there. So this is your answer. So don't forget, very important. Most students make mistake in my test is instead of 64, they give me 8. This is the mistake that students do in my test. Don't forget, your answer is not A, but it's A squared, so which is 64. Yes.
So you don't get the square root of B in like 48, like how we do usual equation.
You do, but then we have then you square it back.
Oh, okay.
So you're doing, you can, then after you have to square it back. So no point of you doing square and then the square root.
Yes.
So very important class, draw me the picture. Make sure you know what is A stands for, what is B stands for, and what is C stands for. And then once you draw the picture, you tell me what is your major axis, vertical, horizontal, because the equations is different. And then usually you have to find, you have to find the other one. So let's look at 4B here. So question 4B is given us that your focus or your foci in this case is plus minus 2, 0. And your major axis is 10. The length of your major axis is 10. So and this is again, the center is at 0, 0. So can someone tell me where is positive 2, 0 for your foci? Anyone know where's positive 2, 0 at?
It's on the x-axis.
Yep. And negative 2, 0 is also on the x-axis, right? So the distance between center and the focus in this case is 2, right? So can someone tell me, is this 2 is your A, B, or C?
C.
C. Now we also have a major axis. Major axis means the longest distance. This major axis is 2A or 2B. So which one is major axis, 2A or 2B?
2A.
2A. So in this case, we can find A. A in this case is what? 5. Okay, since we know the major axis, the whole major axis is 10, so 2A is 5. So can you tell me where is your vertex at in this picture?
Would it just be at 5?
Is that on the X or on the Y axis?
X.
Yep, so that means that this will be your vertex. That means one of them is the distance from here to here is 5. Can you tell me, is this ellipsis, the major axis is on horizontal or vertical?
On horizontal axis.
Yep, because all the points is on what? On the horizontal. And the equations we use is this equation, x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals to 1. Don't forget, you put equals to 1. It's an equation. Do we know A?
Yeah, we just need to find B.
So what is a squared in this case?
25.
25, yes. So we know A is 5, so a squared is 25. Do we know B here?
Nope.
No. So what you need to do is you have to use back this formula to find B, right? Do we know C?
It's 4. And A is 25.
A squared is 25
So
minus B squared.
21.
So what is B squared here?
21.
21. So now we know the B squared is 21. This is your answer. So it's x squared over 25 plus y squared over 21 equals to 1. Anyone any questions here? Easy or it's okay? What do you guys think?
I mean, it's okay.
Next, we're gonna draw this. So you have to find the vertices of this ellipse, and then you have to graph this. 9x squared over 25 plus 9y squared over 16 is equals to 1. Now, in order for you to graph, to figure out is this major axis is a horizontal or vertical, right? Because we need to know which one is which. And don't forget, you need to figure out which one is bigger. Make sure you know A here has to be greater than B. And if you look at the formula for this, if you look carefully, both your x squared and your y squared has to be 1. 1 x squared, 1 y squared. Do you see that? And it has to be equal to 1 also at the end. So you cannot change this. In other words, your x squared has to be a leading coefficient of 1. Your y squared has a leading coefficient of 1, and it has to be equal to 1. The only difference here is you can change your A and B. That's it. Okay. So now we want to make this 9 disappear. And also we need to let 9 disappear. So a lot of students think I'm going to divide everything here by 9 so that this 9 will disappear. However, this will be 1 over 9. Okay, and if you remember the formulas, you can only have 1 at the end, not 1/9 or something else. So how do we change this so that your x squared and y squared by itself, and we still have 1 at the end there? So in order for us to do this, we just push this 9 in your denominator. This is very important trick. Make sure you know that. So without still preserving this 1, without changing it to 1 over 9, we will move this 9 over here. And we move this 9 over there. Okay, so this is a trick that because if you take 1 over 25 over 9, what do you get here? This is the same thing as 1 divided 25 over 9, which is the same thing as 1 times 9 over 25, which you get 9 over 25. So you find out that this 9 over 25, this 9 can automatically move it over down there. And we are still preserving the 1 over here, and we're still preserving x squared and y squared. So now we have this equation here. Now, in order for us to figure out which one is which, is that horizontal or vertical, you have to tell me which one of this fraction is bigger. Can someone tell me, is 25 over 9 is bigger or 16 over 9 is bigger? Which one is bigger?
25 over 9.
So the bigger one will become your a squared. That's the thing is, so if you doesn't know who is bigger, you got to take out your calculator. So we know 25 over 9 is bigger because a has to be greater than b. So that means this will be your a squared. This will be your b squared. Okay. Because 25 over 9 is bigger than 16 over 9. Okay. So make sure you guys know this. This is very important. So once you know this, then you can figure out what kind of major axis is this. Since your A is under X, so this is actually a horizontal axis, not the vertical axis. Because horizontal, A is A squared first, followed by B squared. So this is the A squared and B squared. So this is how you figure out. Some students ask me how we know this. Make sure you know which one is bigger. The bigger one is your A squared. So next, we need to find what here. Let's say, oh, what's the question asking us to find? The question is asking us to find the vertices. So the vertices, are we using A, B, or C? Remember last time I put A. Yep, so you had to find A. But we know A squared is 25 over 9. So can someone tell me what is A in this case?
5 over 3.
5 over 3. Now you say that this is the horizontal, right? Horizontal means that everything is on the horizontal. So can you tell me what is the coordinates of your vertex? It will be plus minus 5 over 3, 0. Okay. In your online homework, they don't like plus minus, so make sure you write your answer twice. You know, one is positive, one is negative. So in my test, you can do that. So don't forget, A is the vertex. So they want you to find the vertices of the ellipse, which we got it. You have to sketch this. So how do we sketch this? So your vertex in this case is 25 over 9. So that means this is 5 over 3, sorry, this is 5/3. Okay, and 5 over 3 is between what number? Between 1 and 2, right? Now, so this is your vertices. So one is positive, one is negative. So this is your vertex, this is your vertex. Now, also you need to know your B, but we know B squared in this case is 16 over 9. So what is B in this case?
4 over 3.
4 over 3. So that means it's also between 1 and 2. So B in this case will be 4 over 3. So that means the distance from here to here is 4/3. So now you got these 4 dots. You can draw me the ellipse. It's not a circle because your A and B is not the same. Okay. So A is 5/3, which is a bit longer than your B because your B is 4/5. So your graph will look something like that. Anyone? Questions? This is number 5. So the trick about this question is make sure you move this 9 to the denominator of 25 and the 16 here. Okay, that is the main trick. A lot of students didn't get the trick here. Number 6 is talking about a semi-elliptical. A semi-elliptical means half of the elliptical. So as you know that we are making a tunnel, and this tunnel is a one-way road tunnel going through a mountain and has a major axis of 50 and a height of 10. So let's say the center is at 0, 0. And it has a major axis of 50, means from here to here is 50 feet. And then this is your semi-elliptical tunnel. And from here to here is what? 10 feet. And it's a one-way road. That means only one car can go into this tunnel. So first question is sketch this tunnel. Okay, this is a tunnel. And give me the coordinates. So can you tell me what is this coordinates of? Can someone tell me what is this coordinates?
Plus or minus 25 and 0.
So this is -25, 0. This is 25 because the distance is 50. So that means half of it, right? Negative. And what is this one? The height of it. The coordinates. Since the height is 10, so this is what? 0, 10, right? Next, we need to find the equations of this semi-elliptical. So if you look at this, is this a major axis horizontal or the major axis is a vertical? Which one is this? This major axis is because this is your vertex, because this is your major axis, right? So is that vertical or horizontal? This is horizontal. Can you tell me what is your A and your B in this case is?
A is 25,
B is
10.
So now we're gonna use back the major axis formula, which is the same formula we just used here. So it will be x squared over a squared, because this is also horizontal. Y squared over b squared equals to 1. Can someone tell me what is a squared in this case? That's a squared.
625.
625, which is 25 times 25, right?
Uh-huh.
And what is b squared in here?
100.
100. Now, this is going to be a wrong formula. The reason why this is wrong is because this is not a semi. This is a full ellipse. Okay. So in order for you to find the semi-elliptical in this case, you have to solve for y. Okay. So what I mean by solve for y is you move this, yeah, solve for y. Yeah, solve for y. Yep. Solve for y, solve for x. I'm sorry. Let me see. Circles here. Solve for y. This is, let me go back to my parabola. Then I can tell you which one is it. Because the parabola will be the one that tells us that. So let me see the parabola one. So the parabola here, oh, x squared. So we have to solve for x because you're going up and down. So we have to solve for x here. Yep, solve for x. Yep, sorry about that. So so in this case, you have to solve for x, not solve for y. That means make x by itself here. So if you have going up like this, you are solving for x. And you will take the positive side because it's on a positive. If you're going the other way, you will solve for x also, but you're gonna take the minus sign. If you want to do just the partial, the other part, because elliptic can be going this way. Okay, so so this one you will solve for y. You will take the negative side, and if you go to this side, then you will solve for x for the positive, this is positive, sorry, because it's not a positive, this is negative. Solve for y, sorry. So depends on where you take your semi-elliptical. If you go this way, you solve for x. If you go this way, you also solve for x. But if you go the other way, blue side, then you have to solve for y. Okay, so we solve for x here, so we move the y over there. So we get x squared over 625 equals to 1 minus y squared over 100. And then I multiply both sides by 625. And then I take the square root of it. So my answer in this case is square root of 1 minus y squared over 100 times 625. Okay, so this is your equation here. The next question
You
is,
just leave it like that.
yeah, just leave it like that. Part C is asking us if you have a driving truck that has a 8 feet by 9 feet tall. So now this truck that you drive is 8 feet by 9 feet tall. 8 by 9. Okay. Will the moving truck clear the open? That means, can you drive through this? Okay. So what we do is, don't forget, this is a one-way road. So if this is if your width is 8 feet, means that the distance from center to here is only 4, right? Because it's a one-way road, so so there are 4 feet per each side. So now we're gonna plug x to become 4 here. So we plug x to become 4. And figure out what happens to your y. Now, if your y is above 9, then that means the value is above 9. So that means your truck can go through. But what happens if your y value is above 9, then the answer is yes, you can go through this. If your y value is below 9 or the same length, then no. Then your truck is taller than the tunnel. Then you will get, your truck will stuck in the tunnel. Okay. So what we do is plug x become 4 here and solve for y here. So 4 squared is 16 over 625 plus y squared over 100 equals to 1. Okay, so we're trying to solve for y here and see if it's, what number do we get? We subtract 16 over 625. Anyone got a calculator? What is 1 minus 16 over 625? And then don't forget, once you find that number, you multiply by 100, because we get rid of 100. So
I got 2.4.
16 over 625, and then multiply by 100. I got 97.44. You guys all right? And then you take the square root of it. So what do you get? $9.87. So my question is, this is 9.87 when x is 4. Can your truck drive through it? Yes or no? Since it is above 9, means what? You can drive through it. Anyone have questions here? Anyone? So this is how we figure out your semi-elliptical. Make sure you guys know this. This is very important. The last conic section we're going to talk about in today's class is called the hyperbola. Before I continue with hyperbola, I will take chat room, please, present in this case, attendance. You guys. Next will be hyperbola. So what is a hyperbola? A hyperbola is where you got a set of points x, y, where if you take the absolute value of difference between the two foci, two fixed points, the foci, it is constant. So last time, if you remember ellipse, we do the sum of those distance, right, between the two focus point. It's a constant. Now we do the absolute value of difference. What's the meaning of the word absolute value of difference? Means that when you take the difference, sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative, because you know, it can be. But if you take the absolute value of it, it's always positive, and that number is always the same. Okay, so you will get a hyperbola. So for example, is you got two focus point, foci, and you got a point in the hyperbola. So if you find the distance between D1 and D2 is the same, the absolute value. So no matter how, if you get negative, you just take the absolute value of it. The distance between these 2 points is the same if you take the distance between these two this focus point with this point. And if you got that, it's called what we call as your hyperbola. Okay. So again, for your vertex is center from the vertex is labeled as A. Center to your focus point is your C. And you find out that your center, your focus, and your vertex all in one same line. Last time we called that as your major axis, because if you remember your ellipses, your major axis is all in one point. Your ellipses, your vertices and your focus point all in one. We call it the major axis. But when you talk about hyperbola, we don't call it major. We call it the transverse axis. So your transverse axis, your vertex, your center, and your focus point all in one line, then you call that as we have a hyperbola in this case. Okay. So the equations of a hyperbola depends on what we have. If your transverse axis is horizontal, which is this one, means that your center is at 0, 0. Your vertex and your focus point is all in the horizontal line called the transverse axis. Then the equation is given us by x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared equals 1. But if your transverse axis all on the vertical line, all your vertices, your center and your focus is all on the vertical line, then it's y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals to 1. So you can tell the difference between these two. This one start with an x squared. This one start with the y squared. Okay. And what is the difference is for hyperbola, we subtract them. For ellipses, we add them. See the formula, x plus y, x squared plus y squared. So when you see addition, either it's ellipses or circle, depends what happens to your A and B. But if you see a subtraction, means it is going to be a hyperbola. Okay. Now, when you draw an hyperbola, you need to find what is the C, which is the distance from the center to the focus point. The equation that we find C in this case is a squared plus b squared. Okay, so let me draw it out here for you guys so you guys will see it. So when we have a transverse axis is on the this is hyperbola. So when all your, this is your vertex, this is your center, this is your focus point. So you find out these are all lying up in the same transverse axis. It's called a transverse axis. This is called the horizontal axis on the transverse axis. The equation you have in this case is x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared equals 1. And if you go the other way, that means it opens up and down. Then we will have all your the transverse axis is on the vertical axis. Means your vertex, your center, and your focus point, they are all in the vertex and the transverse axis of vertical axis. Then you just switch your x and y around. So you got y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals to 1. Now, as you remember that in your ellipses, I say A has to be greater than B, right? That's how we figure out which one is which. But I want to point out in hyperbola, we have no such rules. That means that A can be greater than B, B can be greater than A. So for hyperbola, doesn't matter who is greater than who, because what is important is which one come first. Does the y come first or the x come first? Okay. However, your A and B has to be greater than 0. Okay. So these two value A and B has to be greater than 0. And how do you find C? You remember last time, in order for us to find C, we used the C squared equals to A squared minus B squared. So for this case, we don't use minus, we will use plus. So to find the distance from the center to the focus point is C squared equals to A squared plus B squared. And moreover, this fellow will have what we call as an asymptote. You have both slant asymptote, means asymptote that go cross, and this asymptote will cross on your center point. Okay, this asymptote will cross at the center point, and this asymptote is given us by the equations of y equals to plus minus b over ax. Okay, so if you have a horizontal asymptote, horizontal axis, your asymptote is y equals to plus minus b over ax. How do I know this formula so quick? Is because if I look at this equation, the b over a is your slope, right? Because it's mx. So if you remember, slope is the difference of y over difference of x. So you can tell that, look at this y, underneath is b and underneath is a. So that's why this is b over a. And the reason why you got plus minus is because one of the slope is positive and the other slope is a negative. So for the vertical axis, your asymptote in this case will be y equals to plus minus a over bx. Because again, your y is a and your x is b. Okay, so it's a over bx. Again, you got plus and minuses because one of them is positive and one of them is a negative slope. So this is how you find your asymptotes in this case. So very, very important. So we'll look at another example here that using this hyperbola. Anyone have any questions here? They all will be written down here. So this is the equation for horizontal axis. And this equation is for vertical axis. And to find your c squared, it is a squared plus b squared. And you can, it's restated that your a and b is greater than 0. It did not say a has to be greater than b. And then for your asymptotes, if your transverse axis is horizontal, it is y equals to plus minus b over ax. If it's vertical, it is a over b. Y equals to plus minus a over bx. So which is the same thing we just talked about in here. Very important formulas here. Lots of formulas in this case. All right, so let's take a look at number 7 here. So question 7 is, again, you have to find the standard form of the equations given us the centers at 0, 0. So again, this is what we call as your equation. So if a question is asking us to find the equation, this is the equation they want you to find. Okay. And so the first thing we have here is given us that the vertices in this case is plus minus 1, 0. And your asymptote in this case is y equals to plus minus 3x. So as usual, we will draw the picture for this. So this picture will have 0, 0 is your center. Your vertex in this case is plus 1. So this is your vertex. And negative 1. So this is your vertex. This is your center. So if you look at this, this vertex is on this side, the center on that side. So which one you think the transverse axis belongs to? Is that belongs to the horizontal or the vertical axis?
Horizontal.
It belongs to horizontal because your center and your vertex, they're all in the horizontal. So the formula we have in this case is x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared equals to 1. This is a formula. And as you know that the distance from here to here is 1. So use back the same as we learned in ellipse. Is this one is your A, B, or C?
Is it A?
It's A. So vertex is always using A. So we know A already. Now we need to find B. So how do we find B in this case is we use your asymptotes. Because if you look at this asymptotes, the formula is saying B over AX, right? And the asymptote is given us by plus minus 3x. And we know A. Can someone tell me what is A in this case?
1.
1. So if A is 1, can someone tell me what is B in this case? So we will get 3.
Would it just be 3?
So B in this case is 3. Because 3 over 1 is 3. So we use that asymptote to figure out your B. So since we know A is 1, B is 3, so we just plug it into here. So what is A squared in this case? Is 1. And what is b squared in this case? It is 9. Okay. So this is your answer in this case. And do not forget, A is not necessarily bigger than B. Some people say, look at this, David, this B is greater than A, 3 greater than 1, right? For hyperbola, we have no such condition. Okay, ellipse, yes. Hyperbola, no. You guys all right here with this? Questions you guys have? So we're gonna end today's Zoom here. So please watch this Zoom. It's not difficult, and start working on your homework. I know this homework is not due till next Wednesday, but boy, you better start working. This is not difficult. I really want you guys to start working ahead of time here. So we will continue with this 4.3, and then after that, we will also do 4.4, where this time your center is no longer at 0, 0. It's gonna be on HK. Your formula is a little bit different, but it's not as much different as what you learned here so far. Okay, so please watch this Zoom. Okay, anyone have any questions for me before you guys before I end the Zoom here? If you have no questions, you may leave. If you have questions, do stay back. Don't forget, we don't have class on Wednesday. I'll see you guys on Monday.